right, everybody. Thank you guys for checking in to Checking In. And today we're talking about AAU basketball. I'm alongside Rashida Joiner. She's the coach for Team Durant 17 and under. And I want you to kind of give the people some background and insight on who you are.
So Coach Rashida is what, I'm known as in the AAU world. I'm the head coach for the 17U team, and I'm also the director for high school on the girls' side. Been coaching for like 13 years now, originally from Chicago, so that's where I got it started. But just really passionate about, coaching high school girls and helping them get to the next level.
Okay, so you're an OG in the game, 13 years and counting. I know Team Durant is still fairly new, so that's cool that you get to coach the 17 and under team and just be a part of that whole organization in this DMV area. So the whole point of us meeting today is to talk about how is COVID-19 affecting AAU basketball during this time. Is it kind of up in the air if the girls will have a season, and as well as the boys, but more so sticking to the girls side of things. But will they have an AAU season this summer?
Yeah, so I mean, the hope is that we'll have some sort of AAU season. We know that it's not going to look like what we're used to. The hope is that the girls will be able to play in the July live period. So, like you said, it is up in the air, and it all depends on how all of this plays out. Even if they open things up or when they open things up, it's not going to look like what we're used to. But the hope is they'll be able to play in July and they'll be able to get some sort of exposure before the summer is over.
Right. And then the key word is exposure for AAU basketball. We know that a lot of these girls, some may go to private schools and coaches might come out and go to those games. Others are in public school where they might not see as many faces. So let's just talk about how important AAU basketball is really, and especially for the 17 and under girls where this would be their last AAU season.
Yeah, it's extremely important. The high school season, it looks a lot different, and it's not as easy to get the looks that you might get during the AAU season. And even if you're getting the looks, or if coaches come out, the level of competition might not be one that really exposes who you are as a player and how you do against better competition. So the AAU season is extremely important. It's unfortunate that this is happening, but this is also a time for the athletes to really take control of their recruiting and really just promote themselves and do what they need to do behind the scenes. So if and when things open up, they already have some sort of idea of, where they want to go and what they want to do.
Absolutely. And we talk about athletes opening things up for themselves, but as a coach, how can you put a spotlight on these players during this time as well?
Yeah, so one thing that we're doing is we're encouraging all of our kids to create their highlight films from this past season. And we're just putting it out there. We're putting it out there on social media. We're putting it out there to the coaches that, we have contacts with, and relationships play a huge part in what's going on right now. Having those relationships with college coaches where you can promote the players in that regard is what we're doing right now. So it's really just about promotion at this point.
And I think that's a great thing about the world that we live in today is we have social media. You can throw things out there on Twitter, Instagram. I like to think that some of these kids are kind of celebrities in their own right just because of the things that they do post on Instagram to be seen and their follower account and stuff like that. So that's why I'm kind of looking on the bright side of things and potentially say it won't be so bad, but I still think it's a tough time for student athletes. So ultimately, do you already have kids on your 17 and under team who are committed to college?
No, none of them are committed yet. Nope. So they're in that space where they're having to figure out what their next move is going to be, just in terms of their recruiting process and whether they want to commit now or if they feel that pressure to commit now. So my entire team, none of them are committed.
Okay, wow. So that puts a lot into perspective as well. And this is kind of a question I was going to say for the end, but I think it's important to highlight it now. what would be your advice to a student athlete who does have offers or, you know, an offer on the table, but it's not necessarily from a school that attracts them in or has their attention? Do they get pressured into committing now because we don't understand what could potentially go on, if there will be AAU basketball, or what feel do they kind of get for, do I go to this school right now, or do I just have that faith and wait it out and see if we can play some ball this summer?
It's tough. It's really tough, and it's tricky because a lot of them, if they were to commit right now, they are probably committed without ever going on an official visit. So they don't get to see the campus, they don't get to meet the other players, the other coaches. So my advice to them would be, don't feel pressured into doing anything that you don't feel comfortable doing. This is your career, this is your journey, and you ultimately have to be the one who's happy and satisfied with the decision you make. We understand that these are uncertain times right now, but I like to have a little bit of faith that our 21 kids do have a little bit more time. The 2020 kids are the one who are really in the tough spot, but I think that the 21 kids do have a little bit of more time, especially if they have offers on the table. Just do your due diligence, build relationships with the coaches as much as you can, do as much research as you can before you make a decision, but don't feel pressured to make a rush decision, because that's just going to make that transfer portal go even higher next year.
Right. Higher than what it already is, so to speak. A lot of kids get into situations, even with being able to visit a school, meet the players, and the perfect circumstances, so to speak, and then they end up leaving a program. So I absolutely think that that's something that might happen this year, is we're going to see more transfers than ever before. And then on the other side, we're going to talk about your AAU team from a season ago, who they will be rising freshmen in college at a time like this, which is tough. I know a lot of them are at home taking online classes, and then if summer school gets canceled, because we know as basketball players, summer school is just an important time as far as going in there, getting to know the team, getting an intimate relationship more so with your professors in a smaller class setting, because you're taking your summer classes, lifting weights, getting stronger. All of those contribute to what we see when the lights come on in November and that season starts. So what would the scenario kind of look like if these student athletes can't get on those college campuses this summer and take their classes, meet the professors, work out with the kids who have already been there, so they have that upper hand on college basketball already?
Yeah, that kind of puts them in a tough situation. Summer school it kind of helps ease that transition for them. So it definitely puts them in a tough situation. And I think everyone during this time just has to be a little bit creative in figuring out how to navigate this, so that once we come out of it, we aren't so far behind that we're playing catch up. So that's something that the 2020 class is going to have to do as well. And hopefully they're getting guidance from their college coaches that they committed to on things that they can do and how they can stay engaged and how they can prepare themselves mentally, because a lot of this is going to have to do with mental preparation. Of course, the physical aspect of it is important, but the mental aspect of it is what's going to, set the players apart for those who are mentally prepared and who aren't. So the hope is that they just get that guidance from, the college coaches that they committed to, but also the support from their AAU programs, from their high school coaches, is tapping into all the resources that they have so that they are as prepared as they can be if they aren't able to go to summer school and have that, kind of bridge to ease that transition.
It's something that I just want to highlight. Do you guys have workout programs or anything set in place for the players right now? I know a lot are self-motivated. Some are going to, get out there and go find that outdoor basketball court or do some working out, dribbling drills in their driveway. It's others who we can admit a little lazy, and they have to be pushed harder. Mom and dad got to tell them to go get up and dribble a basketball. So what has Team Durant kind of done to help bridge that gap?
Yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, these kids see what's going on and they have that self-motivation, but we also know that we're dealing with teenagers,
Mhm.
so we can expect them to have it one day and not have it the other day. We are doing workouts virtually with our players.
Nice.
We also have workout plans that we've given them that they can follow on their own, and we also have weekly meetings where we're checking in with them. So we're trying to encourage them to be accountable for themselves, but we're also finding ways to hold them accountable too. For example, my team, my 17U team, one thing that we're rolling out next week is I'm going to be doing virtual workouts with the team, but I'm splitting them into groups by position so
Oh,
that, the workouts could be more tailored and it's going to be one day where they're working out with me, and then they have to find 2 other days throughout the week where that group is working out together without me. So that gives them a little bit of self accountability and also a way to hold each other accountable as teammates. So, we do have some things in place to just keep them engaged and make sure that they're in the best of shape that they can possibly be once things open up.
yeah, and I like that a lot. I think it leaves room, like you said, for the accountability piece. And that's sort of what they'll have to perform in college, be upheld to their own accountability. Nobody's really going to tell you, get in the gym unless, you got that stud player that you're like, all right, I'm going to push her a little harder, but everybody's not going to be held to a certain standard with college
Right.
coaches, I would like to think. But the NCAA, they made a big decision last week, and this is something that I wanted to talk to you about. So they are waiving SAT and ACT scores for the rising juniors, and or is it the rising seniors?
They're waiving it for the 2020 class,
Right. So
and
that's the
that's the
class this
2020
year.
class.
So not our
Hmm.
rising seniors, but our seniors who will be going to college this summer. So
Right.
I thought that was a pretty big decision, seeing that we don't know the status of will they be able to take the test or not. So what do you think this does for college basketball? And then how heads up was this by the NCAA to make that decision?
I think it was a good decision to make. I think that there is so much uncertainty and a lot of stress already that's on these kids and families. So I think this is one way to kind of alleviate that stress a little bit. And it also just gives them the opportunity to focus on the things that they have in their control, which is, their grades, their GPA, the things that they, work on every day when they're in the classroom. Um, I don't know how telling it is for what will happen for the 21 class,
Mm.
because they should be taking the SAT and ACT now. But I think that we'll see about that. We'll see what the NCAA does about that. But I do think that it was a good call for them just to alleviate that stress from the 2020 class.
Okay, and kind of lastly, Team Durant is on the Nike circuit, correct?
So we're not an EYBL team, but
Okay.
we're an independent organization on the girls' side. Our boys' team is an EYBL
Okay.
program, but the girls' side we're independent, but we do play in those same tournaments that the EYBL teams play
Okay. So if the tournaments were to skip all the way to July, what would you guys be playing in? Like, is that considered like nationals or just like a flat out exposure tournament where coaches come? What does that look like?
So if we are able to play in July, it'll just be exposure tournament. So our schedule right now, as it stands, is that we'll be playing in Louisville at the beginning of July, and then we'll be going straight to Chicago for Nike Tournament of Champions.
Mm.
And then at the end of July, we're going to some exposure events in Vegas. So um, hopefully that happens. But yeah, that's what our schedule will look like if they open things up in time for us to play.
Okay, so it looks promising, sounds promising. I hope it can happen because as a former player, I understand how important AAU is. I know high school wasn't college coaches weren't really coming to high school to watch,
Yeah,
like, period.
yeah,
And hopefully, if AAU doesn't pan out, that will change the trajectory and make college coaches come and watch these high school student athletes for their senior years. But we know that's just tough because college basketball goes on at the same time as high school basketball.
right.
But Thank you so much for the time, and thank you for checking in, giving us some insight about AAU basketball this summer.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, and I love having these conversations, and I'm glad that we're figuring out ways just to keep the conversations alive.
Absolutely, and I think it's important. I think people will learn a little bit about AAU basketball and why it is so important to have this summer for those who don't know, as far as we got to get those scholarships and get that free money ultimately,
Yep.
and, that education. So thanks again for the time. Thanks for the insight. Appreciate it. And I hope that you guys can get out there this summer.
Thank you. So do I.